Good morning, good
Good morning.
afternoon, and good day wherever you're joining us from. Welcome to another edition of Sales TV Live. Today, we're talking about how some of the best sales leaders start by stepping back. We're joined by Jon Bratton, Senior Director of Sales at unitIQ. Jon's career has included startups and global tech giants with senior leadership roles at Microsoft, Snowflake, and HiveMind. But what sets him apart is how he's deliberately navigated both sides of the individual contributor and leadership elements of his career path. Jon, welcome.
Yes, thank you, Rob. Yeah, pleasure to be here. It's unitQ, just a little correction there. But yeah, very
Oh my gosh,
perfect
did I
intro.
get it wrong? I thought I
Yeah,
had said it. We
it's
practiced
very close.
beforehand and everything. I'm so sorry. Jon, let's start by having you tell us a little bit more about you, your background, and what led you to where you are today.
Yeah, great. Well, so I'm currently Senior Director of Sales here at unitQ. I've been in sales for about 20 years now. And in that time, I've worked from seed stage startups through to hyperscale and even a stint at Microsoft. So I've experienced really all the different sizes and stages of a tech company. And in that time, I've experienced an acquisition. I've been through two IPOs. And then 18 months ago, I moved my family from London to San Francisco, which is where I'm speaking to you from right now.
Wow, that's no small move.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been just very exciting to get into the thick of it and bring my family here as well to experience American life. Yeah, it's been a wonderful 18 months.
Excellent. So, Jon, let's jump right into it. What do you mean when you say some of the best sales leaders start by stepping back?
Right. Well, having been in the world of sales for 20 years now, I've done numerous individual contributor roles. I've done also at least three leadership roles. And what I've found is really, Microsoft is the outlier on my CV. Um, all of my work history is in startups and scale ups. And whilst I absolutely loved my time at Microsoft, the large corporate enterprise wasn't really for me longer term. So, just by nature of the path that I followed, for most of my career, I've been in London. And the kind of thing that I've looked for have been US companies who are investing in building teams in the European region. So that's what leads me to people like unitQ, where I was the first hire in London and brought there to build out the European region. And so with that, when you're the only person in the region, you really have to roll up your sleeves. You have to do lead gen. You have to manage customer relationships. You have to close new pipeline. And you also have to operate at quite a strategic level as well, as you think about partners, marketing plans, and hiring. So there's quite frequently in my career been examples of where I've left one job as a leader and gone into another job as a individual contributor with a path to leadership. And I've always been good with that. I mean, sales for me is just a wonderful job. I would argue it's the best job in the world. You just can't beat going out, meeting with prospects and customers and managing and building those relationships. And so I've always been very happy to sort of take my career in that direction where I go back to an individual contributor with a view to proving and demonstrating success and then earning the right to build out a team within the region around me.
So, what are some of the biggest misconceptions about becoming a sales leader?
Well, that is a good question. So, I mean, I can only speak from my experience where I did my first leadership role within Microsoft, And that was in my early 30s. So I'd already done a pretty decent stint in sales before then. And I had a really good manager before I moved into that leadership role. And I was actually quite inspired by that manager. And I therefore felt very compelled to go into leadership. And truth be told, I didn't really like that leadership role too much. It was, I guess, I wasn't ready to leave behind all of the things that I absolutely loved about sales in the first place, which is the autonomy, the direct ownership of the relationships, the lack of routine. That was always a big driver for me. You know, no 2 weeks are the same. Very rarely two days are the same. And instead, I was sat at a desk in an office, managing a team of people who are also right there. So I guess I just wasn't really prepared for it in my own mind as to exactly what it is that I was moving into. Now, there were parts of the job that I really enjoyed, but overall, it made me realize that actually I wanted to go back into an individual contributor role. And so that's what I did after doing that for a year. And then subsequently, when I've gone back into leadership roles, I have gone in really eyes wide open, completely understanding what it is. And I've grown to absolutely love the leadership role now, and everything that brings to my working life. So I think really, before moving into a leadership position, people have to really ask themselves what the driver and the motivation is. Is it because they are chasing a title, or they're chasing the power, as it were, or is it because they really enjoy developing people and they've mastered their craft and they want to now contribute to the upskilling of younger generations who are coming into the workforce, or coaching people who are, you know, climbing and quite far up in their expertise levels, but just, you know, coaching them to get even better.
Are there risks associated with moving into a leadership role too early in one's career?
I personally believe that it is a huge benefit to have a few different managers before you go into a leadership role. As I said, I had a manager who inspired me. I've had many great managers, and I've also had managers where I did not like their style. And I learned more from those experiences than I did with the people who I really liked. Because when you like the manager, everything just sort of seems to flow easier, and you're just on the same wavelength and you get each other. But when you get into a situation where you're not quite on that same wavelength, or maybe your style does not quite match the way that person likes to run the team, and you see how they manage you, I think that there's huge learnings in that. And it's definitely guided and directed me as a leader as to what I do and don't want to be for my team. And it's helped me spot if I'm ever starting to sort of display any behaviors that I think actually would I want to be in this team that I'm managing, and it helps keep myself in check.
Fair enough. So why do some top performing sellers struggle when they become managers?
Well, a lot of the time there's no structured path into leadership. And if you're with a larger corporation, then a lot of the time you do get that structure. But I think it's very important to have that path. That's not to say that it's all upon the company, the employer, to give you all those skills. There's an incredible amount of resource that people can go and consume right now to help them in that journey. So, for example, if you're thinking about leadership, you should be reading some books about leadership. You should be listening to the podcasts that are made for sales leaders, of which there are many. So you can start to understand or start to get in the sort of mind frame of a sales leader and understand what the challenges are for someone who's managing a team. Because they're very different challenges to what an individual contributor has who is managing their own forecast and really like a small V team of people around them that might be like a sales engineer or an inside salesperson. You've got a broad team of many different skill sets, and it's how to get everybody working, in the same sort of formation, but also not totally robotic. So you don't give people that opportunity to do things in their own way, to some extent, while still playing by the playbook.
Okay. So, what indicates when somebody is truly ready to lead others?
So I think that there is a natural energy from people. You can tell that really when people walk in the room in the morning. Have they got the kind of energy and spirit that lifts people? I think that's a really big part of it. People lots of the time start almost sort of mentoring and being a leader without being in that role. So examples of that would be when there's new starters on the team, or there's new SDRs joining the organization, and they're very active in helping them ramp up and making them productive. And then I think that it's just that natural desire to really want to then go and help people and coach people. I think they're the key things. And then there are some quite sort of what you'd say standard or generic things, I guess, around just being very good with numbers, high level of organization, someone who's very structured in their work and isn't just guided by their inbox every day. Like they know what they want to achieve, and they clear a path for themselves to do that. And I think all of those things are very important, because when you've got a team of people who more often than not, some of them are working remotely, it's a whole new experience having to manage and develop those people. So there's a level of EQ and a level of maturity that's required for that.
That makes sense. I think the question a lot of people in the audience are asking right now, asking themselves, is how can I tell if I'm better suited to stay in an individual contributor role instead of moving into management? And is that a
Yeah.
bad thing if I do?
So sales is a unique job. I know lots of people who have been in individual contributor roles all their career, and many are also older than I am, and they have no desire to ever go into leadership. And they work through different senior sales roles where they'll manage strategic account relationships, maybe go on to manage one or two large accounts. There are other people who like to go and follow the technology trends. The earnings of an individual contributor can quite frequently be more than their first line manager or the manager above them. So I think it's really just asking yourself, what does success look like? For me, and it's not something that I just knew from the start. It's through making some decisions and putting myself into some uncomfortable positions where I totally understand that for me, success is waking up in the morning and just being really happy and excited about what I do. And then what I found is anytime I've been in that position, doors open and good things happen. So, for example, at unitQ, when I joined nearly 3 years ago, I was the only person in London, and I was there to build out the European region. And about 7 months into the role, I was asked to manage the entire sales team, most of which were in North America. And whilst I was very, very pleased to get that job and jumped at the opportunity, I was never necessarily I wasn't pursuing that. I was just doing good work and enjoying what I did. And I don't think you can fake that. You certainly can't fake that for a long period of time. And that's what I mean about like getting up and being happy and motivated and enjoying what you do. Not only will you just be more successful, make more money, close more sales, but you will find doors open and opportunities come to you that maybe you didn't even expect. So I think there's some element of that in it, but I'm definitely not saying that you shouldn't have a plan. I'm just saying that whatever, even if you have a plan to become a leader, if you're not actually doing something that you enjoy there and then, day to day, I think your opportunity to go into leadership within that organization is significantly hindered. So I would really just think long and hard about what it is that you love about sales. You know, as I said, for me, it was autonomy and being out on the road and meeting different customers, having different conversations, solving problems every day. And then as I've matured and I've had a taste of leadership and I've then gone on to develop that, now for me, it's an absolute joy to lead and manage a team. But they're two very different things. So I think that it's also okay to still not quite know, like, should I stay in sales and as an individual contributor, or should I go into leadership? And if if you're surrounded by good people, a good manager, where you can talk about these things, there may well be opportunities for you to take on some additional responsibilities from time to time within the team, and put dip your toe in the water, test it out, see how you like it. Maybe lead a recruitment process for another AE that's going to come in, because you don't think about all these things. Hiring people is extremely hard, and if you've never done that before, then you need to be involved in that kind of process to understand really how do you test for all of the things that makes a salesperson highly effective. And these are all things where all the books or all the podcasts in the world can only do so much for you. You need experience, but a great mentor there side by side with you will really, really help you.
So if I am not sure whether or not leadership is right for me, but opportunity presents itself and I take that chance, can returning to an individual contributor role hurt my credibility or future promotion potential?
Well, I say no, absolutely. It won't hurt. I did it myself after that initial year at Microsoft. I moved back into an individual contributor role. And then I've been into leadership, another 3 times since. So it definitely doesn't hurt or hinder any chances of career progression later on. Absolutely not. Great salespeople are very, very hard to identify in the market. And if you are able to demonstrate your skills with a desire to move into leadership, then people will hire you and they'll have that in mind. And you can even talk about assistance on that path as the company that you're with grows and scales. And scenarios may be slightly different if you're within a large corporate versus a startup, but I think the principle of it doesn't change. It's a maturity thing to understand what you should actually do right now. Success is rarely linear.
I like that. You mentioned assistance. What can organizations do to support both the individual contributor and those on leadership career paths?
Structured enablement is critical, really, at any organization that you're with. So I would always look for that, both in the individual contributor role and for paths to leadership. And even in the smaller companies, it doesn't take a full-time sales enablement team to be able to offer these enablement paths. There are lots of ways to do it. ISP is a great example, but there are others where you can have outside organizations and bodies provide really solid frameworks for you to work towards and follow and test your skills and ability as you go. So the enablement programs are certainly a big part of it, but the people within the business are so key. They must encourage and give teams the opportunity and time to do their enablement and not just treat it as a sort of do it whenever you can thing. It really should have its specific time in the calendar. And it should be given the care and attention it needs, where you should get feedback on all of the things that you're doing, and understand what you're doing well and where you need to put some additional focus.
So, last question that I have is, how can leaders maintain credibility if they've been away from frontline selling for too long?
So that is, again, one of the reasons why I do like selling, because when you've been in the trenches, when you've carried a bag and you know the sales cycle, you've experienced it, you've lived it, you've gone through all the objections, you've gone through the legal review process, then I think that you have lots of credibility as a leader within the business that you're in. But that's not always possible. People don't always have the opportunity to do that, and they follow, like they'll go into a leadership role within a business. And I think that it's the methodologies and the processes that are followed. For example, lots of people use MEDPIC, which is just fantastic, but it's something that when it's used properly and correctly, you can be very thorough in your deal reviews with your team, without needing to have tons of experience within that business yourself, because it's just the classic, have you got a champion? Have you identified and quantified the pain? Have you qualified the routes to budget? And then you're really just enabling good conversations with the reps that you manage, which makes them think. So it's not the advice that you're giving, it's the questions that you're asking, which is creating the thoughts and helping the reps identify the gaps in their deals. And I think that's really key for credibility.
Awesome. Jon, if you were to emphasize the one thing you would want our audience to take away from today's episode, what would that one thing be?
I would say just making the point again around success doesn't have to be linear. It's not job titles or base salaries. And if you're only chasing those things, then you're going to get into periods of time where you're struggling in your career, and that always spills over into your personal life. If you love what you do every day, then money and success, they will come to you and doors will open. And my biggest breaks have happened when I've just been doing work that I'm really passionate about and I love. Every day get up excited about what I'm doing. And when you're in that mode, really the world's your oyster. So I would always just keep reflecting on what it is that makes you happy, what it is you enjoy about the job, and follow your head as well as your heart when it comes to what you want to be spending a significant proportion of your life doing on a daily basis.
Fantastic. Jon, this has been great. How can people learn more? Where can they get in touch with you?
So yes, I'm on LinkedIn. You'll certainly find me there. And also you feel free to email me. I'm Jon, Jon, at unitQ.com. I'll be pleased to hear from anyone.
Excellent. We now have a newsletter. Don't miss an episode. Get show highlights, beyond the show insights, and reminders of upcoming episodes. You can scan the QR code on screen or visit us at salestv.live and click on newsletter. This has been another edition of Sales TV Live. On behalf of everyone at Sales TV, to our guest Jon and to our audience, thank you for being an active part in today's conversation. and we'll see you again next time.